I've analysed over 100 football matches using the exact same template. Different leagues, different teams, different styles. And what surprised me wasn't how different the games were. It was how similar they actually became once you understand what you're looking for. And in this video, I'm going to show you 5 different patterns that kept on occurring and why most fans will completely miss them. Now, this isn't about being perfect or analysing every single detail. It's about having a system which forces you to ask the right questions every game. And using this template, I was no longer just watching football, I was comparing it. So insight number 1, after analysing 100 games, the first thing that stood out across the 100 matches was that most goals don't come from these brilliant build-up patterns. They come from disorganisation. More specifically, transitional moments. Because when a team is disorganised, that gives you a higher chance of creating a better opportunity. And teams like to take advantage of that. And within my notes, over half of the goals recorded came within just a few seconds of a transition moment. And this actually lines up with research showing that transitional moments are some of the most dangerous in football. So when teams are organised, defending is actually quite simple. The goals happen most often when the structure disappears. Insight number 2, shape matters less than behaviour. And this surprised me at first, but I realised that teams with completely different formations were behaving in almost identical ways. Very similar pressing triggers, very similar build-up patterns, very similar principles. And so a 4-3-3 formation might look very different from a 3-5-2 formation on paper, but actually on the pitch when you're watching the game, they can behave in a very similar way. Every team will still have the overarching principles of maintaining width in attack, providing overloads in certain areas, and ensuring, of course, there is enough support around the ball. But one thing that often decides which formation a manager picks is actually less about the structure and more about ensuring that each player is operating in a zone where firstly they feel most comfortable and secondly where they can impact the game the most. And this links directly to getting the best out of your players. And so this is why obsessing over formations and structures can be a little bit misleading, because coaches coach behaviours. It's just a chosen structure that allows these behaviours to flourish. Insight number 3, most weaknesses appear on just one side. Across the 100 matches that I observed, one pattern appeared constantly. Attacks were repeatedly funneled down the same side of the pitch. So for example, if I break this down into 3 zones, you've got this side of the pitch, you've got the other side of the pitch, and then you've got almost the central zone. Do you know those graphics which show you the percentage of where most attacks are coming from? So let's just for argument's sake say that 30% of attacks came from this channel, 20% came through the centre, and then you had 50% that came from this channel. That information tells you a lot, and it's not a coincidence, because most likely the opposition team, imagine the blue team are attacking, the opposition team will have their weak point in the channel where the blue team are attacking down most. And so it might be a weaker fullback, it might be this centre back here who doesn't like going out into wide areas and so is forced out there, or it might be a winger that doesn't like to track back. And so the blue team will probably more often than not want their attack to come through the 50% side. So once a team identifies that weakness, they don't just start attacking everywhere, they start channeling their efforts down one side. And that's what I did spot. Within my observation of the 100 games, a huge percentage of final third entries came funneling down just one side. So once the team had identified which side of the pitch was weakest, they would target their efforts more directly towards that channel. And very rarely did an attack come through the centre. So if you want to analyse better, stop just watching the ball, but instead watch where teams choose to attack, because that can tell you a lot. Insight number 4, teams can actually have better success off the ball. So we tend to think that possession signifies control in a game, when in fact the possession statistic itself only displays ball retention. It doesn't explain what teams do with it. But after analysing these matches, I found that those teams who showed greater organisation off the ball, in high pressing moments, in mid-block moments, in low block moments, actually controlled the game better, creating more dangerous chances because they forced the opponent to play in areas where they didn't want to. And even recent research backs up the importance of developing a system to kind of measure off the ball actions. An example from one of the games that I analysed was this. This is Atletico Madrid versus Real Madrid. And Atletico knew Real Madrid's weakness, and so they doubled down on it. We know that Real Madrid love to overload the left side of the pitch. And so as soon as the ball went right, that is when Atletico triggered their press aggressively to try and win the ball back in that particular zone. In an area where Real Madrid had less counter-pressing capability, so they could transition with more freedom. And insight number 5, the first 10 minutes of a game can tell you a lot. One of the most consistent things that I noticed came at the start of matches. Now, the first 10 minutes is often where the least structure within a football match exists. There's often a lot of fouls, there's a lot of high balls and long balls, and there's naturally a higher intensity as teams look to get that first blow on the opponent. But the first 10 minutes of matches is good for giving indications of what might happen later on. And it's great for assessing the nature of the game. So for example, within the first 10 minutes, a team might show you how aggressive they'll press, where they want to build up, and which opposition player they want to target. And actually very rarely do teams reinvent themselves later on in the game. They might make little tweaks here and there, but the blueprint is there from the get-go. And that is exactly why the first 10 minutes of the game on this template is dedicated to just watching the game, because you aren't looking for anything in particular yet. You are simply just assessing how this game might play out, what is the nature of the game in these early moments. And that can actually tell you a lot about what to focus on later on in the game, essentially laying the foundation. Now, the reason why I was able to spot all these different insights consistently across these matches wasn't because I'm particularly experienced. It's more because I had a structure and a system. Because the template forces me to answer the same questions every game. How did goals arrive? What behaviours were repeated? Where were the weaknesses? And why did all that happen? And so without a system, you just become a moments collector. So football isn't actually about seeing more, it's about seeing the same things more clearly each time. And if you want to analyse matches like this with a system and a structure, then the template that I use is linked in the description. And also, if you really want to go deeper with your knowledge, then I'm running a special Christmas discount on my 7-day course. My course is the best entry point into understanding football tactics with clarity, simplicity, and in the quickest possible time. So I'm going to link that in the description below, and I'll also link the discount code that you can apply to give yourself 20% off today. But this offer closes on Boxing Day, so if you want to get in, now's your chance. And if you want a step-by-step guide for how to actually use the template, then you might want to watch this video next. Until next time, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.